Hello and welcome. This is the final round advanced lead card of the Crosstown Open on March 18th, 2018 on Saunders Ferry Disc Golf Course.
Yep, this is played around Old Hickory Lake where Johnny Cash had a house with June Carter Cash. It's very scenic.
Hole 1, 385 feet. Not a lot of danger here, but it's just a long, straight shot with trees to the right of the basket. It's a good hole to get warmed up on. Throw your distance driver for most advanced players. Right here, I prefer to throw overstable disc on anhyzer, so that's exactly what I did with my 400 GD2. Brandon, he's lining up a hyzer flip shot. Throws it a little bit lower, but it turns over to the right. He'll still be within about 120 feet of the basket. Matt throws a low hyzer out wide. Stays on that angle the whole flight, gets a great skip at the end. He'll be about 12 feet from the basket. And Austin, he's going to go a similar flex shot. A little bit straighter, right at the basket. Comes right in front of the first tree. Wow. Skips up right next to the basket. Great shot from Austin. Brandon driving right-handed and then putting left-handed up to the basket. Here we've got 3 putts for birdie indicated by the blue coloring at the top of the screen. And Brandon, he'll be tapping out for his par if he can make this, indicated by the gray at the top of the screen. Matt, just a little bit closer than Brandon. He'll get his in. Brandon, Matt, and Austin all coming in tied for the round at -1. Now, after Matt, Austin, and myself earn the birdies, their scores at -4, -2, -2, and -1. Hole 2 is a little bit short of a shot at 260 feet up the hill through a gap. You can either go straight up the middle to the left of the leaning tree, or as I'm doing, I'm going around the outside with an anhyzer to keep it up by the basket so it doesn't skip. Matt, he's going to go with the forehand. He's going to go down the middle, however, but he's going to skip to the right. He'll still be within birdie position, still be able to putt to the basket. Austin takes the same line up the middle with the backhand with his fairway driver. He skips just past the basket within the circle. Then Brandon seems to have a little bit of an early release, hits the tree and kicks to the left. He'll be in a rough spot. This is a great forehand upshot just past the basket, but it's definitely a makeable shot for him. As Matt, he's around 30 feet from the basket, leaves his putt into the cage. Myself, I'm tapping in my birdie from about 20 feet to get 2 birdies on the first 2 holes. Austin looking to do the same. Misses his putt to the right side of the basket. You can tell he's a little bit frustrated about that. And Brandon just in front of Austin's lie. He'll tap in for his second consecutive par. Austin catches the top right of the chains as he taps in his par putt. And Matt is right under the basket. He'll also take a par. Hole 2, only 260 feet, yet only yielding 1 birdie on the card. As we head into hole 3, going back to a little bit of a longer of a hole, 390 feet over this little hill, with the road behind the basket that plays out of bounds. Hole 3 is definitely one of the tougher holes on this course. Definitely by far the toughest hole we've played so far. In an effort to stay short of the road, I throw a hyzer to the basket, but I land short. A little bit outside of a comfortable range for birdie, but definitely doable. Matt, he throws a higher, wider hyzer that spikes down by the basket. And Austin, he's throwing a little bit lower throws a very overstable disc out to the right, trusting it to come back, and it looked like a great shot. He'll be about 40 feet or less from the basket. And Brandon, he's throwing that same disc he did on hole 1, I believe, but it flips over out of his hand, and it's fading towards the road. However, he stays safe. He will not be out of bounds as Matt, furthest from the pin, lands a little bit short, but puts his upshot very close to the basket. Brandon throws his jump putt near the out of bounds road, almost makes it, as I am 43 feet from the basket, able to throw a jump putt, but I go over the top of the basket, throwing into a little bit of a headwind. Austin's a little bit closer, in position for the birdie, misses his second putt inside the circle, taps in his par. As I fly over the basket, have a long comebacker, squeak it in the right side of the basket, and Matt, he's within 12 feet of the basket. Misses his putt off the band, kicks to the right. He'll be taking the first bogey on the card. And Brandon, he'll tap in his par. Third hole in a row, taking a par. Everyone's still staying fairly close to one another as we go into hole 4, our first par 4 of the day, 545 feet. The basket being up by where you can see those people. And this hole is just a one shot, throw as hard as you can, then approach to the basket. Not really reachable, but also not the longest par 4. Definitely a hole you want to get for most of this advanced field. Here we've got Austin throwing his D3 out to the right side, flexing back, throws a very straight shot. He'll be out to the left side a little bit past my own drive. And Brandon, he's going to throw his distance driver, throws it high and on hyzer, stands up, but he's also going to finish to the left, similar to where Austin lands. And Matt, after taking the bogey, is going to be last on the card. Throws a little bit lower than the previous 2 drives. Still a great shot right in the middle of the fairway. Everyone's pretty similar. Me and Matt don't quite have the distance that Brandon and Austin do. We're a little bit short. And got a hyzer upshot to the basket. Takes a little bit of a skip. Matt believes he'll be doing similar. Throws a little bit lower, a little bit straighter actually, but it has that same strong fade at the end. And Austin's going to switch to the forehand, throw a low, overstable disc to the basket. He'll be right next to it. Brandon, not fazed by the people walking across the fairway, throws it right next to the basket. Great upshot. Everyone's fairly close for the birdie. We've got 2 longer putts and 2 shorter putts. I make mine in for the birdie. Matt, looking to do the same, shake off his last missed putt, as he does. Gets the birdie. And assuming Austin and Brandon can tap in, everyone on the card will take a birdie. So now we've got scores at -6, 2 at -2, and Austin will be at -3. Only 1 bogey, and definitely numerable birdies. Going into hole 5, another par 4, 535 feet, 10 feet shorter than the previous hole, but this one has a little bit more technicality. Off the drive, you have to throw a hyzer along the tree line, and the better left you go, the better it is to set up for your second shot. Gives you a straighter line to the basket, while if you're to the right, you have to navigate through some trees. But this is definitely a hole you can unleash your drive, being down the hill, as Austin's doing here. He's fading to the right, but he's coming back just after the trees, That was a great drive from Austin. He's far enough where he can just throw a very simple upshot to the basket. Brandon throws the lowest drive of the group so far. He also throws up by the tree line, being able to throw through there to the basket. Definitely a great advantage. Matt, he's going to put a little bit more hyzer, but it flips up, holds its line. That's a great shot. We have 4 solid tee shots, setting up for pretty easy upshots to the basket. However, there is a hill right in front of him, behind it, and bushes to the left, so you have to be on point with your upshot or it will be a tough putt. And Brandon, he hits a tree on his forehand upshot to the basket. Matt has a simple little floaty putter upshot to the basket. Austin has to stretch out a little bit, but had he not been behind the tree, would have been a look for eagle, and he almost makes it around the tree with a forehand and hyzer. Brandon's out from about 45 feet, misses the chains to the left side. So I'm in a tough spot here. Had to kneel and stretch out, took all of my 30 seconds. But make the putt, take the birdie, as Matt is looking to do here. Yep, he's taking the birdie, and Austin's gonna tap in, also from the woods. Definitely creating some trouble for these putts, even though they are a little bit shorter. And Brandon, he's not gonna be taking the birdie on this par 4. And we're going into hole 6. Hole 6 plays along the road, however the sidewalk is not OB while the road is. Across the tree line, it sets up well for a forehand, going down the hill then back up. Got a few trees to dodge, and it's best to keep this shot low to keep it from going left into the road or right into the trees. And I'm going to land right by the big tree, about pin high with the basket, around 60 to 70 feet away. Austin's going to throw a mid-range up the middle, and it's turning, but he hits a branch, gets a really bad kick into the rough. Hopefully he'll be able to save his par from there. Matt also electing to go with the forehand. Those a little bit higher. He's going to land in a similar spot to Austin. Maybe he gets a little bit further up there. And Brandon, he's going to go with the left-handed drive. Left hand, backhand. Flips over out of his hand. In danger of OB, kicks the tree, but he is safe. He barely misses going OB, lands right next to the road. Austin, he has to throw a forehand hyzer, parks it right next to the basket. It was a great shot from Austin, through the trees. Matt, he's going to do a similar flex forehand shot, a little bit better position, but he lands about 10 feet away, still within a very predictable range for his putt. As Brandon, he's going to come in probably a little bit further from Matt, but still definitely a makeable putt. As I'm stretching out, throwing a jump putt, hit the cage from about 70 feet. And Matt, he's going to miss his second short putt of the round and has a similar length comeback putt. He makes that for his bogey. And Austin, similar range from Matt where he just putted, barely misses it, or misses the cage and gets over and goes into the basket. Brandon, he misses his high. Got 2 short missed putts on this hole. And there will be 2 pars and 2 bogeys. So far, it's our hardest scoring hole. Going into hole 7, the difficulty definitely eases up a little bit. It's a very short hole, up the hill, 250 feet. It's a blind shot, so you cannot see the basket from the tee. And there's a sidewalk running along the basket that does not play out of bounds. However, you do have woods to the long and left side of the basket, but it's essentially just a straight shot to it. As I throw it pretty close to the basket, gonna have an easy tap in putt. Austin throws a very overstable disc, but he skips into the woods to the left. He'll be around 60 feet from the basket. Got another shot coming in to the left. And Brandon, he's hoping not to get in the woods. So he's going to throw it a little bit wider. Lands near the sidewalk, near the basket. He's going to have about a 15 to 20 foot putt. Austin is putting through the woods. Hits his putt from a long distance. Get a slow motion replay of the putt. Nicks a branch on its way to the basket, but it's in. He gets a great birdie. Austin's putting together a solid round so far. And Matt, he's 49 feet to the basket. Outside the circle. Can he make it like Austin? Puts it a little bit low. As Brandon, he landed on the cart path to the right of the basket. Gets a cut through the chains. Spits through. That's an unfortunate par to take after a great drive and arguably a great putt. Matt, he'll take his par. And we're going to have 2 birdies on the card. And 2 pars. Brandon, a little reluctant to tapping his putt after that unfortunate spit out. As we go into our final par 4, hole 8, it plays down the hill across a fence. And there's just a lot of obstacles on this one. There's a cliff going down to the water on the left and behind the basket. If you're not careful, you can definitely take a big number on this hole. It's been done in the past, and it's definitely not a hole you can take for granted. As I throw a hyzer right about to the fence, about 350 feet off the tee, leaves a longer, straighter upshot for the second shot, and Austin almost hits the car parked right in the middle of the fairway. And Matt, he's going to throw his shot low, but this was a lot more left than he wanted. He clips the branch, but he still has a long opportunity to save his birdie. If he can get up and down from there, be quite an impressive shot. Brandon turns his over, and he hits off the car, but he'll be to the right side. It's actually a great spot to be over there. You can throw a hyzer to the basket around the trees. It's a good line from there. So he's going to throw the hyzer, and it's coming in fast, and it skips right in front of the basket, but he's going to go down the cliff to the left. He's going to have a really tough, awkward putt up the hill. Right there, I'm throwing my H3 V2 down the middle of the fairway from about 340 feet, just trying to get it up there. Land within about 30 feet of the basket, and Austin throws a great drive. He's able to approach from about 280 feet. He's going to get a little bit short of the basket, a little bit shorter than he wanted. Leaves about, I'd say, a 50-foot putt. Gives it a good run, but he goes low. Almost rolls down the hill. Luckily, he stays up. And Brandon, he has an interesting lie. He did not go in the water. He's been close to the OB 3 times, but he makes that putt up the cliff around this little gap he found. You can see the line he took there. That was a great putt. Interesting place to land, and good way to say birdie. Then we've got my putt from about 25 feet from the basket. I'll get my birdie. And for the round, I am 6 down through 8 holes at this point. Feeling good, playing solid golf, and Matt, he's going to tap in his par along with Austin. So no more par 4s for the rest of the round, as we have scores at -9, 2 at -2, and Austin at -5. And hole 9 is our second water hole. It's a almost 400 feet across the water. This time you're forced to throw straight across of it, and it's definitely scary. This shot I was a little bit worried about hanging over the water, but you gotta trust it to land by the basket. And also there's a road to the left, and that plays as OB, so it's a really tight landing zone. You have to keep it right on point, as Brandon does here. He hits the land, rolls into the water. He's OB, indicated by the yellow at the top of your screen. Unfortunate break to hit the land and roll into the water. And Austin, he's going to throw right at the basket. Catches a good skip. He'll be 20 feet from the basket in a good position for birdie. And Matt, he's going to throw low hyzer, not worry about the water. However, he is skipping out of bounds on the road. So we're going to have 2 OB drives here on hole 9. Definitely a tough way to end the front 9. Matt throws his approach putt from 60 feet, just leaves it low, most likely laying up. And Brandon, just outside the circle, he's going to miss his putt for 3. So we're going to have 2 putts for 2 and 2 putts for 4 remaining. We've got 1 in the basket. Then Austin's going to be next to tap out from a similar distance. So he'll take his 2 as well. And the OB is going to cost 2 bogeys. And hole 9 is going to take a toll on some of these players in the advanced field. So after hole 9, we've got round scores at 7, even, and -5. And we've got a little bit more of a scoring spread now. We've got, I'm at -7, Brandon's at -1, so is Matt. He'll also be at -1 for the tournament, and Austin, he'll be at -6. So everyone's still staying together for the last 9 holes of the round. We'll catch you on the back 9.